Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Samashi MN. Originally posted to r/relationship advice, May 23rd, 2020, by Throw RA Shoes. My 36 male, wife, 34 female, keeps tying my boots after I've told her to keep her hands off them. I try to teach her a lesson and really hurt her feelings. Yes, I know the title is bizarre and I can't believe I'm actually writing this. My wife is a neat freak, always has been. She throws notes on my desk out assuming they're garbage. My belongings get rearranged to the point where it takes me hours to find them. It's something I've come to accept. I'm not happy about it, but we have a pretty happy marriage on the whole. I am a volunteer EMT, and I keep my boots unlaced up against the wall next to my clothes hamper so that I can throw them on along with my uniform if a call comes in during the middle of the night. Well, my wife has taken to tying the bootlaces when she sees them untied. Not only does she tie them, but she tightens them and double knots them to the point where I need to undo the knot, open up the boot, and let a little slack out to fit my feet into them. I ignored it the first 2 times, but the 3rd time she did it, I made it a point to bring it up to her the next day. I very calmly said, "Hun, I appreciate that you want everything neat, but please do not touch my boots in the future. Time is of the essence when I'm going on a call, and at 2 in the morning, I don't have the time to unlace them and open them up. It's not just a minor inconvenience, it's people's lives, so I would appreciate it if you left them alone." She rolled her eyes, said I was being dramatic, and that she wouldn't help me out by keeping my things neat in the future. Well, she never stopped. No matter how many times I've asked her, told her, begged her, she just laughs and says, "Well, you know how I am." The other night, a page went out for a CPR in progress. I went to throw my boots on, and they were, once again, tightened beyond recognition. So I'm sitting there, on the edge of the bed, cursing, trying to get my boots open and fumbling due to the stress of the situation. My wife opened her eyes, groggily looked at me and asked, "Don't you need to go on that call?" I know I was in the wrong here, and I regret it. I slammed the boots into the ground and yelled, "Yes, I do! I would have been out the door 5 minutes ago except some stupid motherfucker fucked with my goddamn boots again!" My wife got up without another word, walked into the bathroom, and slammed the door. I got my boots open and went on the call. By the time we arrived, the police had gotten her back, so I didn't have to do CPR. But I was sweating and shaking, thinking my delay could have cost a life. I got home and my wife wasn't talking to me. She ignored me the entire day until we finally sat down and talked. She said I had scared her with how angry I got, that she thought I was going to hit her, and she didn't know I was capable of getting so angry. Note, I have never raised a hand to her, nor have I ever yelled at her before. I am absolutely not a violent person in any way, shape, or form. I apologized for yelling at her and acknowledged that I hadn't meant to snap at her. I was frustrated with the situation as I needed to get to the person in need of CPR as soon as possible, and it was a delay that didn't need to happen. I, once again, pleaded with her not to touch my boots because lives were literally on the line. She told me that if I was going to overreact and make her afraid, then she would never touch my boots again because she didn't want to live like that. Last night, before I got into bed, I had a sinking feeling, so I went over and checked my boots. I was very disappointed to find them tightened up again. So I decided to show her how it felt. I went over to her closet and pulled out her running shoes. I unlaced the shoelaces on both of them, removed them from the shoes completely, curled them each into a little coil, put them inside the shoes, and put them back. I then went to sleep. At 6:15, I was woken up by my wife screaming, "How could you? Why would you do this?" Holding up both laceless shoes with tears in her eyes. My wife likes to go for an early morning run, and I knew she would want to get out the door as soon as possible. I smiled and said, "You know how I am. I just like things neat." She continued sobbing and walked out of the room. So, by the time she was all laced up again, it was raining, so she missed out on her run. I actually feel pretty terrible about that because I really only wanted to delay her, not ruin her plans completely. At this point, she's alternating between crying that I went out of my way to hurt her and ignoring my presence. I acknowledge that what I've done has been pretty childish and not at all constructive. I just don't know what to do. She said, through tears, "You admitted you were totally in the wrong for yelling at me, and then you turned around and took it out on me in a different way? What is wrong with you?" The problem is, to her, an apology means taking on 100% of the fault. When I apologized for blowing up, she took that to mean she was 100% in the right and that my feelings were completely unjustified. So at this point, I haven't apologized for ruining her run, because she'll take that to mean she wasn't wrong to touch my boots. I've tried to have these discussions, but it's in one ear and out the other. We have such a good relationship otherwise, but I feel like this issue has reached a tipping point, and it's going to continue to result in arguments until we resolve it. How do I make things right with my wife while still letting her know that I won't tolerate her disrespecting my property anymore? Edit. Wow, this blew up. I went through the comments for 6 hours last night and I still have 1.8K to get through. I promise you I am reading every one of your comments and appreciate the advice. A couple things to address, points that keep getting brought up. 1. My wife has never been diagnosed as having OCD. As an EMT, I am very careful about labeling someone as having a disorder as I don't have the proper qualifications to make that diagnosis. I do agree that it's time for her to see somebody, get a proper diagnosis, and address these issues. 2. My boots lace up in the front and zipper on the side. They're not a fully unzip, but rather an unzip to open them up a bit. The way my wife is tying them makes them impossible to get on even with the zipper down. They're weatherproof and great for standing on rough terrain or the highway after accidents. They're only about a year old and were actually a gift from my wife. I've not considered Velcro before. I'm a bit hesitant to do that as I don't know that they wouldn't catch on things or wear out quicker. I've tucked the laces in, but she still tied them up. 3. This is a bit of a compulsive behavior on my part. I don't leave my boots in the garage because my mother was a smoker growing up, and that's where she would smoke. So I would end up with ashes in my shoes and having them reek of tobacco after. So I developed a habit of wearing them into my home. Also, if I leave them there, they're likely to get moved someplace safe, where it will take me even longer to find them. Putting the boots in the closet, she found them and tied them. Putting them under the bed or out of sight, they were found, tied, and moved to the closet. 4. I honestly believe that a footlocker or any other kind of box would get moved to where I would have to wake her up to find it. If it's locked, then my keys are likely to go missing. For some reason, sitting on my dresser is not appropriate, but in the pocket of a jacket downstairs in the closet is. 5. I am likely going to start putting my boots in the car, though I had to laugh at the people suggesting decoy boots. As much as it may seem like it, I'm not living in a spy versus spy cartoon. 6. I am a volunteer EMT. We respond from home. We don't have sleeping quarters and I work the overnight shift, so I sleep during my shift, get out of bed when a call comes in, drive to the building, and take the ambulance to the scene. This is typical of volunteer organizations. Paid EMS is more likely to have sleeping quarters or even require EMTs to be in the truck throughout their shift. Community-based EMS is more likely to take 911 calls and respond to emergencies, whether paid or volunteer. Private EMS is more likely to take transport requests such as to/from dialysis or chemotherapy, as well as hospital to nursing facility discharges. 7. To those who have told me that I don't have the right to use the word life-saving, on my dress uniform, I have pins for 3 defibrillator saves and 4 for CPR saves. I've crawled into a car wreck to open someone's airway and bag them until we could get them out. While transporting a patient, I recognized signs of internal injury and ordered we divert to a trauma center, where he was put directly into emergency surgery that saved his life. Did I do these things entirely by myself? No, of course not. I would never claim that I was the sole reason someone lived. However, I am at my very basest level as vital link in the chain of survival. So while I can't claim complete credit for any of the things I've done, I would certainly put a lot of blame on myself if someone didn't live because of something I failed to do. 8. I have a full-time job that I work 8 to 5, Monday through Friday outside of VMS. That is why I volunteer on the night shift. My wife works as a payroll manager for a mid-sized office. I earn about $10,000 a year more than her. We've been married for 2 years. While I live on my own before we were married, she didn't move into the apartment until we got engaged. So I think to her, that was my place, not ours, and she didn't really touch my things. I was with another EMS organization until we moved to a new town after our engagement. When we bought the house, I joined the local volunteer squad as an EMT. My wife regards my job as part of my identity, while she sees the EMS as something I volunteer to do. She would say, "This is my husband, he is a job title," not "This is my husband, he is an EMT." 9. Thank you for all the awards on this post. You're all very kind. I appreciate so much that you took the time out of your day to acknowledge things and want to help me. Too long didn't read, my wife keeps tightening my boots when I'm not wearing them, delaying me on ambulance calls. I finally had enough, and she's calling my response abuse. Update. I've gotten a few requests for update, but didn't want to post until I felt like I really had anything to say. A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks, so I'm going to try to go over it as best I can. My wife and I started talking again. We had a very serious conversation, and I did apologize for what I did to her running shoes. And then I told her I had to speak some truth and I wanted her to promise me that she wasn't going to roll her eyes, interrupt me, scoff, or get sarcastic with me. Which she did. I told her that I was not kidding about my boots, that while most of the time I caught geriatric transports, falls, and nausea, there were instances where response time was of the essence and I didn't have time to play around with my boots in the middle of the night. I told her that there have been times when my intervention has been critical in life-saving, when my training has helped me recognize an underlying emergency, or when a call I made ensured that a patient was prioritized upon arrival at the hospital. I explained that a lot of the shit I see I don't tell her about because I don't want to give her nightmares or make her worry about me. She actually listened and didn't dismiss what I had to say. She responded that she was trying to help by keeping things neat. I responded, "But you're not, sweetie. I'm not trying to be mean, but you're not helping. You're hindering me. One day it may be the difference between life and death. I need you to not touch my gear. It's where I know where it is. It's where I can easily find it in a short amount of time. And if you move it, you are impeding an emergency response. I don't care if it looks neat. It serves a function. It doesn't look pretty. If you want to help me, please leave my gear where I put it." A few nights later, I had my friend's Officer Rich come over. Officer Rich was one of the 2 cops that did CPR on the victim that night. The 3 of us sat on our deck and had a few social distancing beers. He talked about getting there, doing CPR, giving Narcan, waiting for the ambulance, and getting her back shortly before we got there. He then pulled out a few photos of car accidents that I had worked. He showed them to my wife and pointed out, "This car went into a tree. Your husband crawled into the wreck, put a collar on the driver, and stayed in there, giving him oxygen until we could get him out. Your husband pulled a 3-year-old out of this wreck. Your husband recognized that the driver had a stroke and took her to a stroke center, which likely saved her life." After that, I told her I had something I wanted to show her, and I asked her for the same promise I'd asked earlier. When she agreed, I showed her a video on YouTube of a police body cam from an overdose. The video showed how critical time is in getting someone back, and the training someone goes through in order to give the drug, do CPR, and utilize an AED. I told her, "I'm not trying to attack you. I don't want to have a fight, but I want you to understand what I go through, that I hope every call I go on is transporting a boo-boo, because otherwise it means that if I don't do everything right, someone could die. If I don't get out that door as quickly as possible, someone could suffer brain damage while they're waiting for me to give them oxygen. If I'm upset and shaking because I had to waste time opening my boots, I might miss something critical, and someone might not make it. She acknowledged that she understood and told me she hadn't really thought about the danger of what I do until the other night, when she saw the photos of the wrecks. I told her that I think she has OCD and needs to see a therapist because it's hurting our marriage. I listed examples of her throwing important things out, moving things without permission, and messing with my gear. I offered to go together and said I'd be willing to work on things together. After I pointed out the pattern, she agreed that it was time to speak to someone. She wants to think about whether she wants to go together or by herself, but she has promised me that she's going to try to change her patterns. I brought up her saying she thought I was going to hit her, and she acknowledged she'd been with guys who flew off the handle with little provocation and scared her, that she'd never seen me get that angry and it triggered her because she didn't think I was capable of blowing up like that. She's been very emotional lately and has been going through mood swings. She's been worried about me going out on calls. The other day, she started crying and said, "I hope you know how much I appreciate what you do." Knock on wood, since we had the big talk, she hasn't touched my boots. Is everything resolved? Not by a long shot, but she seems to have a new appreciation for what I do. Thank you for all your responses. I wound up not showing her the thread because a lot of it was pretty harsh towards her. I recognized I cherry-picked incidents that didn't put her in the best light, and there's a lot more to her and our marriage than that. She is the person I chose for the rest of my life, and I want us to work. Too long didn't read. Let my wife into my world a little more. She let me into hers, and she hasn't touched my boots since. If I were to make a movie recommendation, I would recommend Code 3. It's a movie that follows Rainn Wilson, Dwight from The Office, as a burnt-out paramedic. It's a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend watching it when you're in a proper headspace because it does cover some very heavy topics, and despite it having some comedy to it, it also has some tragedy with it. It does sound like that OP and his wife, they've worked through things and they've kind of figured out a path forward. Might be difficult for both of them, but they've at least got one. As for the Redditor who dared to say that an EMT doesn't do life-saving work, go fuck yourself. That is all. Don't forget the Oz Cup is live on GamerSubs until March 9th, and don't forget to use code Oz at checkout. Every purchase made using code Oz supports the channel directly. This post was collected by Shark Ava, and their tagline is, "No and I just had 50 justice." The original OP is Mental Platypus 5193, posted in r/am I wrong, April 28th, 2024. My son, 2019, what the fuck? My son, 19 male, filed harassment charges against me and my husband because we were making him go to college. Me and my son moved to US last year. I was a single mom for 16 years before I met and then married my husband. I saved up money so he can go to college. Where I came from, college is very important. We moved to a small town and my son found new friends. These friends, in my opinion, were not a good influence. I'm used to polite and academically oriented kids back home. These new friends of his make fun of his books and his plans of going to college. Before his high school graduation, me and my husband took him to several unis in the States so he could get a feel for which one he would like to go to. Then, after he graduated from high school, I told him I have about $20,000 saved up for college. He said it's not going to fit because tuition is pretty expensive nowadays. I suggested he can go to a community college 20 minutes away and live at home to save money. He agreed, and I gave him access to the fund, the joint account. Long story short, he did not enroll himself and instead started partying a lot and used the money on expensive dates with his girlfriend. He moved out and stopped talking to me. I worked hard to save that up for more than a decade, and I'm upset that he wasted it in less than a year. Me and my husband went to his place and asked that he pay me back since it is specifically for college and not fun money. He called the police and filed harassment charges. I told the police to review the CCTV footage because the whole time I was talking to him through his ring cam. I was calm and reasonable and my husband was just standing behind me, not saying anything. I was outside the door talking. He never even opened the door to talk to me face to face. The police said there's nothing he can do if my son and his girlfriend felt harassed. He can file a restraining order if he wants to. Back home, this is unforgivable to treat your parents like this, but here in the US, I was treated almost like a criminal. My sister-in-law said it is my fault for confronting him and that the money is his to spend since I made him a joint account owner. Am I wrong? Edit, people cursing me because I said something about wanting to throw my chancla at my son's face. To be clear, I have never laid my hands or my flip-flops on him ever. But after what he did, my intrusive thoughts want me to throw it, but of course I won't. If he called the cops on me just because I want to talk to him, what more if I threw my flip-flops on his face? His relationship with me before moving to the US was fine. He knew my struggle as a single mom and he always tried to help me around the house. I was not strict at all. He was free to go out with friends anytime. He was even thrilled to have a father figure, and my husband always tried to make him feel included in everything. Comments. Manufacturer Any 835. Lesson learned. Never give someone access to money unless you're okay with them running away with it. OP responds, he was a good boy before moving here. I thought he knew my struggles and how much I sacrificed to save money. I just thought he would never betray me like this. User Ding Dong Bitches comments. Honestly, I think a lot of parents don't realize the depth of their children and forget that just because you think of them as one way doesn't mean they don't have other layers that can make them a different person. Sadly, your son has found some less than savory friends to surround himself with, and now he has to live with the decision he made. I honestly wouldn't offer to help for university again and would leave communication up to him. Also, has there been any questions or discussion of potential drug use? User 2Workigo comments, the money is gone, and since he was a joint account holder and a legal adult, there's nothing to be done except refuse to help him financially anymore. Let him figure it out on his own from now on. The friends he had will likely drift away now that he no longer has a fat bank account to fund their party lifestyle. User Moon comments, her biggest fault is waiting till it was gone to do something about it. She had joint access, she could have stepped in long before now and tried to deal with it. Too little too late, unfortunately. Update, 12 days later. I still have not heard from my son and I don't expect him to reach out. But his girlfriend's mother has called me, asking if my house is still open to him. I asked her why. It turns out he hasn't paid his share of last month's rent and his girlfriend had to pay it for him. I said it's not my problem and he's not welcome anymore in my house since he is an adult. The girlfriend's mom said, what kind of mother would not extend help to his teenage son? She further insulted me and said now she knows why he left me. At this point, I really don't care anymore. I tried to help him get a good start in life, but he wasted it. Aside from the $20K, he lived rent-free in the house. Free food, free phone, car, gas, money, and I pay all the utility bills and his health insurance. All I asked is that he focus on his studies. Finish at least an associate's degree so he can get a decent job and be fully independent from me ASAP. For some who asked why college is so important to me, as an immigrant, we are held under certain standards. We have to prove to USCIS that we will not become a public charge, meaning we won't rely on any government aid. I want him to be able to be a good immigrant and become productive. I don't even know if he can become a citizen if he makes below poverty income. I was just trying to make sure he gets to live a good life. Some of you asked if he even wanted to go to college. Back when we were in our home country, he begged me to please send him to college no matter what. P.S. The harassment charge was closed for lack of evidence of harassment. A lot of what he said were lies. Edit. Another thing that gave me chills was when he moved out. It was the middle of the night and me and my husband were both asleep. My son left the front door hanging open. I saw it in the camera. We live in a small town, but there's a lot of crime in our area. Someone could have gone in and done something bad. Comments. Blue Dreamer 62. Some people just have to learn the hard way. His girlfriend probably had a good time with him spending his college fund. Now that it's gone, the fun is over. So comes the reality. User Polite Canadian 2 comments. So you're saying this is the find out stage that follows the fuck around stage. User Sharp Mathematician 6 responds with a yep. User Snoowords 4839 comments. His girlfriend's mom has no right to bitch you out. Your son left. spent his college fund and now has to figure out how to adult. You do not owe him anything at this point. User Lady Alcove comments, she's just calling her out because she's realizing that now she has to take care of this bum. User Butterfly Garden comments, yep, she too is in the find out stage. New update, update 2, 8 days later. His girlfriend's mom called me again today and basically handed the phone to my son to sort it out between us. I let him just talk and tell me what is on his mind. Here's a summary of his point of view. He felt like I deprived him of a lot of things growing up. I couldn't buy him an Xbox/PlayStation, an iPhone, or anything a teenager wants when we were in our home country. I couldn't afford it. Back then, I was making $1,000 a month and saving 20% of it for his college fund, and whatever was left was for us to live on. I was helping my parents too with some groceries, so money was really tight. When I look back now, I don't know how I made it all fit. He felt so small because his clothes were hand-me-downs from cousins or just cheap clothes I bought from Tianguis. That's about as close as I'm gonna get for the pronunciation of that. For those of you wondering, it's an open-air market, essentially. He said I was not supportive, unlike his friends' parents. Some of his friends have wealthy parents who bought their sons a house and never had to go to college or think about their future because they will inherit the family farm anyway. I have no generational wealth to be that supportive. I wish I have. He said I have so much house rules. Yes, I do. I want him to wash his plates after eating. I used to do it for him. Clean his room and keep it tidy. Make sure the windows are tightly shut in winter. Keep the thermostat at 68 degrees during winter to save electricity. Come home at 11 p.m. or else the house will be double locked from the inside for my safety, because my husband drives a truck and not home at night most of the time. I also told him before that since he has a part-time job, he can't use my credit card for anything but emergency anymore. But he's still used it sometimes anyway. Card's been frozen since he moved out. I asked him why file charges when I only wanted some explanation from him. He said he didn't want to inconvenience his girlfriend and filing charges is the easiest way to get me to stop trying to talk to him. So basically, he felt deprived as a kid and that he thinks he was just healing his inner child when he spent the money. He said his friends told him I owe that to him for bringing him to this world. He thinks that I should not have a child if I can't afford these things. I asked him why he left the door open that night. He went silent for a few seconds, then said, I just thought that if the house got robbed, I could just say I cashed the money from the bank and the robbers must have found it. Unbelievable. At this point, I was so emotional and I was a crying mess. I told him I am deeply sorry that I was his mom and that he had to grow up feeling deprived because I was poor. Then he said, oh, stop with the guilt tripping. You're saying that to make me feel bad. Oh, and he also said he hates it when I do this. OP links a video of a Spanish-speaking mother from what I can assume to be her telling her son that food is ready, it's on the table, and he needs to stop playing his games. She begins yelling at him. He says he'll be down in a moment. He gets downstairs, food is not on the table, and it isn't dished up yet. I don't yell like that lady, but I pretty much bug him to get up and help me set the table. I never get a response, so I had to raise my voice higher. He said I was so rude, but he grew up with this. This is me being me. All moms back home do this. All of a sudden, he's comparing me to his mom's friends. In our culture, we want food to be eaten while it's fresh from the stove. I spent 1 hour cooking after a long day at work. The least you can do is help me set the table and eat my food while it's nice and warm. I hung up. My heart is broken in so much pieces. Am I wrong? Comments. White Witchy. He has a chip on both shoulders. Leave him be. It's despicable. He left the door open so you were vulnerable to burglars. Absolutely no consideration for your safety at all. User Mountain Drums comments. Dude's a spoiled brat and an idiot to not see his friends were using him. You need to cut him off and let him figure things out. User Dublos comments. Not spoiled. Mom could not spoil him. Entitled. This child believes he's entitled to the same things his friends grew up with, even though his parents provided the best they could provide. OP, your son has made his bed. Let him sleep in it. Buddy got used by his girlfriend and his friends and doesn't realize it, and sees the fact that his mother tried her hardest to actually provide for him as still not enough because he couldn't get an Xbox or a PlayStation or any of the other cool things his friends were able to have growing up. He was deprived and shouldn't have been born because he couldn't have a PlayStation or an iPhone growing up. Does it suck to be less fortunate than your friends? Yeah, of course. Does it mean you should do this to your mother in response as retribution? God, no. In a few years from now, he's going to look back at this as being one of the biggest mistakes he's ever made and realize just how big he fucked up. I do hope in the 2 years or so that it's been since this was posted that he's been able to put himself back together, but I don't really count on it. Honestly, I don't even know how I'd react. I know I'd be heartbroken, but how do you react to hearing that your child is 100% fine with you being, well, robbed, potentially even killed in a robbery gone wrong, just so they can walk away with 20 grand that was for their college fund that you built up and saved over years of hard work, that they then blew on parties and random shit because they were upset that you couldn't give them the childhood their friends had. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget the Oz Cup is on sale until March 9th, so grab it while you can and use code Oz at checkout. Every purchase made supports the channel directly. They also sell non-caffeinated stuff and even sleeping formulas, which are actually really good and have helped me kind of get my sleep schedule put back together. And with all that, I'll be seeing you all tomorrow.